For a show built on endless laughter, The Simpsons sure knows how to make us cry. Let's begin with one of the show's most heartbreaking moments. When tragedy struck the Flanders family. Alone Again, Natra Diddley, Season 11, Episode 14. Maud Flanders was the sweet, gentle wife of Ned Flanders, and one of Springfield's most decent people. She was kind, polite, and deeply religious. The perfect balance to Homer's loud, reckless life next door. But in this episode, The Simpsons decided to give her one of the strangest and saddest exits in TV history. It all begins like a peaceful Sunday outing. The Simpsons go hiking, and everything looks perfect, until they find out the paradise Lisa loved is actually next to a roaring racetrack.
Bird sanctuary! They ruined it!
They just surrounded it with something wonderful!
Who needs peace when you can have car crashes, right? Ned Flanders and his family are there too, ready to enjoy the race. Maud smiles and says,
I like the fresh air and looking at the poor people in the infield.
Classic Maud, sweet but honest. Their boys, Rod and Todd, ask if they can move closer to the track. Ned quickly says,
Absolutely, Hot Roddy. We're up here out of range of the crashes and the driver's cussing.
Oh, if only he knew how wrong he was. The race begins and the crowd cheers as cars zoom by. Everyone's hoping there won't be a crash. Everyone except Bart, who's just there for the explosions. Suddenly, car number 5 stops for a pit break. Then another car pulls in, but this one's driven by none other than Homer Simpson. Of course, he couldn't resist joining in the fun. At first, the pit crew doesn't even recognize him. When they ask, "Who are you?" Homer proudly says,
My name is...
then panics, jumps in the car and speeds off. He's completely out of control, swerving all over the track like a runaway donut truck. There's a huge crash, but somehow Homer walks away perfectly fine. Moments later, he's magically back in the stands, acting like nothing ever happened. And then comes the big moment. A group of cheerleaders walks out and shouts, "Who wants a free t-shirt?" The crowd goes wild. What follows next is one of the most shocking and darkly funny moments in Simpsons history. Naturally, Homer can't resist free stuff. He stands up shirtless, waving his arms like a man possessed, yelling for one. The cheerleaders aim their cannons right at him and fire a whole round of shirts. But in true Homer fashion, he bends down to pick up a bobby pin at the worst possible moment. The t-shirts fly past him and hit Maud Flanders instead. The impact knocks her off the stands and she falls to her death. Just like that, Springfield loses one of its kindest souls because Homer couldn't sit still for 5 seconds.
It's hard to believe we're never going to see Maud again.
And poor Ned didn't get a chance to say goodbye.
It's shocking, sad, and somehow still very Springfield. At the funeral, Ned is heartbroken, so the Simpsons decide to stop being jerks and actually support him. Bart plays with Rod and Todd to cheer them up, while Homer helps Ned get some rest. Later that night, a stone hits the Simpsons' window. It's Ned. He's standing outside, unable to sleep, saying he just needs to talk. Ned breaks down.
Can't believe my last words to Maud were no footlongs.
He believes if he'd gone for hot dogs, she'd still be alive. Homer, trying to comfort him, admits he parked in the ambulance zone, blocking help from reaching Maud. Then he adds,
But there's no point in playing the blame game.
You're right.
making it even worse. To help, Homer makes a dating video to find Ned a new wife, filled with random clips of Maggie's birth. Every date is a disaster, from Lindsay Neagle to Edna Crabapple. Losing hope, Ned even skips church until he hears singer Rachel Jordan perform. Her song restores his faith, and for the first time since Maud's death, Ned smiles again. The real-world story behind this episode is just as dramatic. Maud's voice actress, Maggie Roswell, had left the show after a pay dispute, so the writers decided to write Maud out for good. It wasn't just a random joke. It was meant to give Ned new stories and growth. Still, many fans were stunned. Killing Maud over flying t-shirts? Only The Simpsons could pull off something that tragic and absurd at the same time. Donnie Fatso, Season 22, Episode 9. Fat Tony was Springfield's most polite mob boss, the kind of man who could threaten you and still sound charming. He ruled the city's underworld with calm authority. The story begins on New Year's Day, when Homer and Marge wake up with hangovers after a wild family party. As Homer takes out the trash, Chief Wiggum shows up with a stack of petty tickets, for everything from noise to garbage placement.
$50? It used to cover 2 public nudities and a poop in the park.
Overwhelmed, Homer takes Moe's terrible advice and tries to bribe a city official to make the fines disappear. Big mistake. The moment he leaves the cash-filled bag on the desk, he's arrested and sentenced to 10 years in prison for bribery. In prison, an FBI agent offers Homer a deal.
We're gonna plant you in Fat Tony's gang as an undercover informant.
Go undercover and help bring down the mob, and he'll walk free. Desperate, Homer agrees and takes on the fake identity, Nicky Blue Pants Alto Saxophony. His mission is to get close to Fat Tony, Springfield's most feared gangster. At first, Fat Tony doesn't trust him, but after a staged fight arranged by the FBI, the two bond, and Fat Tony takes Homer under his wing. Soon, Homer becomes part of the family. He eats with them, schemes with them, and even gets assigned to burn down Moe's tavern. Luckily for Homer, Moe has already done that himself. As their friendship grows, Homer starts to see a softer side of Fat Tony, a man who believes in loyalty, respect, and good suits. But things go downhill when the FBI's operation blows up. Fat Tony discovers Homer's true identity as an undercover agent.
Wait a minute.
The betrayal breaks his heart. Standing there, shaking and speechless, he clutches his chest and collapses from a heart attack.
You held the key to the champagne room.
I loved you, man.
Just like that, Fat Tony is gone. No last words, just heartbreak and silence. Homer kneels beside him, holding him and sobbing, begging him to wake up. For once, the man who never took anything seriously is crying like a child. When Homer returns home, his sentence cleared, he's consumed with guilt. He visits Fat Tony's grave, ready to give everything back to his only friend who ever treated him like family. Suddenly, he's grabbed by Fat Tony's cousin, Fit Tony, who plans to kill him in revenge. But when Homer tells him how much Fat Tony cared, Fit Tony changes his mind. He decides to honor his cousin's memory by taking over the family business. Over time, Fit Tony grows heavier, gruffer, and eventually looks exactly like the old Fat Tony. The show ends with a darkly funny twist. Springfield's underworld doesn't stay empty for long. Fat Tony lives on, just in a slightly rounder form. It's both tragic and classic Simpsons irony. The mobster with a heart of gold dies, and his cousin literally eats his way into his legacy. Clown in the Dumps, Season 26, Episode 1. Rabbi Hyman Krustovsky wasn't just Krusty the Clown's father. He was the man who spent years praying his son would choose the synagogue over slapstick. A strict, serious rabbi and the complete opposite of his pie-throwing son. Hyman's passing gave The Simpsons one of its most emotional father-son moments. The story begins with Krusty being roasted by fellow comedians Jeff Ross and Sarah Silverman. The jokes are brutal, and for once, the clown isn't laughing. In fact, when it's his turn to roast others, he admits he doesn't feel like it.
And I guess I don't have any friends. My only comfort is the roast is over.
Before walking off stage. In his later shows, no one laughs either. Seeing him hurt and defeated, Bart suggests he talks to his father.
Krusty, why don't you talk to your dad? He'll cheer you up. He's a rabbi.
Hurt and insecure, Krusty goes to Rabbi Hyman, hoping for reassurance.
I came here so you could tell me the truth. That I'm great.
The rabbi sighs and replies,
I'm not gonna lie to you. For funny, I prefer Rabbi Rubenstein.
As for you, son,
if you want to know my honest opinion of you, you've always been...
Before he can finish his sentence, he suddenly collapses and dies, just like that. No warning, no final words. Krusty is devastated. All his life he wanted to make his father proud, and now he's gone, leaving behind what sounds like a final insult. At the funeral, Krusty tries to keep his composure. He says,
Even though my father and I had our difficulties, he was a great man.
But deep down, he's broken. As the crowd offers condolences, Krusty starts seeing his father's face in everyone around him, all repeating that same word. Trying to cope, Krusty performs a song he wrote for his father, but even that brings no peace. He turns to counseling, but when asked to describe his father, all he can recall are harsh memories, times when his dad called him a big needy nothing. The words echo in his head until he can't take it anymore. During a taping of his show, Krusty finally breaks down, admits he's having a crisis of conscience, and quits live on air. Bart, seeing how lost he is, tries to cheer him up by showing clips of his best moments, but it doesn't help. Krusty drinks, mutters to himself, and finally passes out. In a surreal dream, he wakes up in a version of Jewish heaven, where he meets comedian Rodney Dangerfield, and then his father. Rabbi Hyman reminds him that Jews don't believe in heaven and tells him, "You're not supposed to be here. Go back and help people." Back in the real world, Krusty takes that advice to heart. He even builds a shelter for animals, trying to do some good. Later, Bart takes him to the synagogue, where Rabbi Rudenstein, his father's favorite preacher, delivers a sermon filled with Krusty's own jokes about faith. That's when it hits him. His father did think he was funny, he just never said it out loud. The rabbi had quietly used his son's comedy to inspire others. Krusty's finally at peace. In his mind, he sees himself and his father relaxing together in a pool, finally at peace. This episode wasn't about a shocking death. It was about closure. Rabbi Hyman Kristofsky, voiced by Jackie Mason, had appeared only a few times since his debut in Like Father, Like Clown, but his influence on Krusty ran deep. His final words may have been unfinished, but their meaning was clear by the end. Behind the clown makeup, his son made people laugh, and that was wholly enough. Mona leaves her. Season 19, Episode 19. Mona Simpson wasn't just Homer's mother. She was a lifelong rebel, an activist, and the only person who could make Homer cry faster than losing a donut. In this episode, she returns home once again, only this time it's for the last time. It starts when the Simpsons come home and find their front door wide open. Homer, thinking there's a burglar, grabs a cinder block tied to a chain and names it the Defender. But instead of a thief, they find something even more shocking. Homer's mom, Mona, baking apple pie like nothing ever happened. She tells them her protesting days are over and she's back for good. But Homer's not buying it.
You keep disappearing and reappearing and it's not funny. You're just like that show Scrubs.
He's tired, angry, and doesn't want to feel abandoned again. Mona shows the Simpsons kids old photos from Homer's childhood and admits she feels awful for missing so much of his life.
I do feel bad for missing so much of Homer's childhood.
Homer awkwardly points out that he learned to hug food buckets instead of people. A line that's funny and sad at the same time. That night, Mona quietly walks into Homer's room. She tries to talk, hoping for forgiveness. But Homer, still angry from years of being left behind, can't let it go. He tosses aside the blanket she made for him and turns away. With a soft sigh, Mona says,
"I understand. These things take time."
And leaves the room, not knowing those would be her last words to him. Later, he regrets it and makes her an apology card. It's a sweet, clumsy gesture. But when he walks downstairs to give it to her, he finds Mona sitting by the fire, completely still. When he asks if she's asleep, there's no answer. Her head drops, and Homer realizes she's gone. The silence in that moment hits harder than any of Homer's usual jokes. At the funeral, Homer is crushed by guilt. He blames himself for not forgiving his mom when he had the chance. He keeps replaying that night in his head. Marge and the kids try to comfort him, but nothing works. Homer stays in bed, silent and broken, calling himself the worst son in the world. The guilt of how he treated Mona is too heavy for him to let go. But later, the family finds a video that Mona left behind. The screen flickers, and her voice fills the room. "If you're watching this, it means I'm gone," and says this is her final will. Each family member gets a small gift. Marge gets a hemp purse, Bart a Swiss Army knife, Lisa her rebellious spirit, and Homer gets a mission. Mona asks him to scatter her ashes from the highest point of Springfield Monument Park at exactly 3 o'clock. Determined to make it right, Homer climbs the mountain in her honor. But in true Simpson style, nothing goes smoothly. When he releases her ashes, they fly straight into a vent inside the mountain and accidentally activate a hidden nuclear missile launch. Turns out, even in death, Mona's protests weren't over. She had set up one final stunt against Mr. Burns. Homer gets captured, tied up, and trapped, while Mr. Burns explains his evil plan to launch Springfield's nuclear waste into the Amazon rainforest. But with the help from his family, Homer escapes, stops the launch, and blows up the base instead. A final victory for Mona's lifelong fight against pollution and corruption. In the end, Homer finally releases her ashes properly. Then the episode closes with flashbacks of Homer and his mother during happier times. Hugs, breakfasts, laughter. It's a quiet, emotional goodbye to a character who spent her whole life running from authority, but never stopped caring about her son. Mona Leaves Her wasn't just another Simpsons death. It showed that even in a world full of gags and chaos, the show could still break your heart. and then make you smile through the tears. In true Simpsons style, even death comes with a punchline, sometimes tragic, sometimes absurd, and always unforgettable. From Maud to Fat Tony, every farewell left a mark on Springfield's heart. Tell us which one shocked you the most. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from America's favorite animated family.